Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Spilling Ink Live, the talk show that takes you behind the book to meet the authors and artists in the publishing industry. I am your, well, we're not going to say favorite today because I have another host with me. It's the lovely Katie Salidas out in beautiful Las Vegas. How's it going, Katie?
It is wonderful. It is beautiful. It is cold. Thankfully, it's finally cold.
Is cold 65?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, it's 34 degrees here today. So thank you.
That's too cold.
All right, so we have two fantastic guests joining us tonight, but before I introduce you, I want to give you a little word from our sponsors, and our sponsor is Book Branders. Book Branders is your self-publishing, I can't speak tonight. It's probably because I've been drinking sparkling rosé. That's good stuff. All right, so Book Branders is your self-publishing, see, I did it again, Katie, concierge, providing package and a la carte solutions to get your book to market. From book design to editing and marketing, their team of professionals can help you successfully bring your book to market without breaking the bank. You can contact Book Branders today at www.bookbranders.com, and you'll get a free 10-step guide to successful self-publishing. Yeah, now, Katie, since I am stumbling over every word tonight, you have worked with Book Branders. Can you give us a little personal insight into what they do?
Absolutely. And it's basically what you just said. They are your concierge. They connect you with the people that you need in the industry to get the job done, whether it be editing your book, whether it be putting the internal layout together, formatting it for ebooks, doing cover art. They have people who can do it all, and they will help you get from finished manuscript to printed bound book and whatever you need for that.
Wonderful. Well, they sound awesome, and they're not super expensive either, right?
No, absolutely not. They're very reasonable, and they're a la carte services, so you only pay for what you need.
Perfect. Because I've perused a lot of websites that are offering help to indie authors and small press authors, and sometimes you're paying almost as much to get the help as you are for getting the whole book published, and it can be tough. All right, so we have two very special guests with us tonight. We have Mickey Mickelson and Avery Olive from Creative Edge Publicists.
Publicity. We are publicists, but publicity.
Man, it's a hard word, okay?
I get it. Try spelling it 25 times a day. No problem, for sure.
Creative Edge Publicity. And you guys are publicists.
We are. And
providing the public with publicity help.
That's a tongue twister, man. That's like the Peter Piper picked a peck of I can't even say it.
Avery, we got our new tagline. Perfect. Done.
Again, guys.
Words.
Sparkling rosé. That's where it's at.
Thanks for having us on again, guys. I know I've been on Spilling Ink before, and it's always a joy. And you guys helped us build our brand, to be honest.
Well, we love you, Mickey. And, while we do want to talk to you, there is somebody I want to talk to even more. She's hiding down there in the little corner thumbnail. Why don't you introduce us to your new partner?
Yeah, so Avery Olive is out of Canada. I've known her for probably almost 2 years. And throughout the 2 years, we've always talked about working together, and it just never came to fruition. Opportunity came up. We had a discussion. She joined. She's been here probably, I think, 2, maybe 3 weeks, and she's made an indelible mark on Creative Edge. Like, Avery, just tell everyone what you do. I want to show my star off to the world because you're
Avery. Bring it home, Avery. Let's see this.
No.
Mama!
Well, I'm super, as Mickey said, like I've only been on the job for 2 weeks, but I'm super excited to be working with him. And as he said, we've kind of talked about it here and there, and finally everything fell into place, and here I am. So I do have a day job. I have to, work from home actually in this lovely office. I also write books. I've published a few times. I have a short story collection. I write poetry, and now I'm learning to be a publicist.
Wow, Jack of all trades. Congratulations. Good job.
Yeah. Now
not learning. She is a publicist. She's not learning. She's there. Trust me.
Now let's back this up a little bit. You said you've written poetry. Tell me about the poetry you've written. What kind of, is this like angry stand up in front of a microphone poetry, or are these like soft love poems, or what are they?
This was, I actually shouldn't have said that because it's actually under a pen name that only about 3 people know about. I post it right now just to Instagram for fun.
Okay.
So like I said, only like 3 people know my pen name. But it has a lot of followers. So it's actually really validating to know that everybody that's liking my stuff doesn't actually know me, right? They don't know it's me. So, but it is.
That's my problem, is that people know it's me, and that's why they don't like my stuff.
Maybe, yeah. But no, it's love stuff. It's sad stuff. It's
pull one up and read one for us. Let's see. I know you've got your phone sitting right there.
I do.
Okay, I didn't warn her about this, Jason.
You did not.
I better for this all.
I can feel I'm blushing too. I'm going red. Let me just find. We'll talk about something else while I find something good.
Okay.
You can't just pick the first one.
We're talking. It looks like there's a lot of nice books on her bookshelf behind there. It looks like the Divergent series. That's exciting.
Yes.
And some Nancy Drew. We like that. No, Nancy Drew. Oh.
Actually, this shelf right here is my stuff. And then this shelf right here is all my friends. So actually you can see some really awesome people. Jared Brandt, Robert J. Sawyer. I've got Danielle Jensen, Susie Vidori, some really awesome friends of mine. So those are all my signed.
Oh, you know Susie.
I do know Susie.
That's
She's
awesome.
my
Very cool.
bestie.
Yeah, she's a sweet lady. We liked having her on.
It all ties together. Everything.
It really does. Once you get into Canada, there's it's all interwoven. They don't hate each other like we do in America.
Not nice. But I guess we are Americans. We're not supposed to be nice, right? That's our image at this point.
I don't know. We've got as many U.S.-based authors now as we do almost Canadian authors. It's crazy.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been good.
Now, tell us a bit of what you're doing for the authors that are in the U.S. Because I know, across country lines, there's different methods of doing things. There's different contacts you have. Is there a difference in how you approach publicity for somebody who's in America versus somebody who's in Canada?
While Avery's finding out her stuff, I can comment to that.
I was hoping you guys
asked the question.
Thought about that.
In all honesty, what we've actually found is media opportunities in the States, even for Canadian authors, is actually sometimes better than even being covered in Canada. We represent a lot of Canadian authors who are having troubles getting entrenched into the Canadian market, who are already entrenched in the US market. I don't know if it's because of logistics or whatever, but we're finding that the response rate from the US media aspect has actually been better overall. What we're doing for the US authors is the same process that we did in Canada. Basically, we're meeting with media, we're setting up collaboration cycles, we're drafting, in some cases, full year cover stories with magazines, full year radio interviews with specific radio stations. And I think we have about 10 to 12 already set arrangements on yearly schedules, which Avery has now set up for us on a more organized fashion than I could have, basically doing what I'm doing. So that's what we're doing right now, Katie, in the US, and it's working very well.
Okay, wonderful. That's awesome. And from the look on Avery's face, I see that she found a poem that she'd like to read for our audience.
I'm not quite ready.
Okay,
maybe towards the end. I'm gonna work on my first. Public speaking is not my thing.
So
that's the thing. Don't think of it as public speaking. It's just the 4 of us. We're having a conversation. Let it ease your mind. That's actually one of the reasons that Spilling Ink started, oddly enough, was myself, our original co-host David, and even Jason. We've all had issues in our own heads with public speaking, and this has been an avenue not only to meet other people, but to kind of work through that fear a little bit.
Right, that's good.
Well, and if you met me in actual life, day to day, I am a very, very anxious guy. I'm a very introverted guy. But when I'm on, when I'm in front of the computer, or if I'm at a convention and the camera's on, I can put on the outgoing Jason, and it's a way for me to try to expand myself a little bit and get out of my own head, which I think is really healthy for people. I think it's good for us to interact with other humans. But one of the really cool things about Spilling Ink is exactly what Katie just said, is when you look at the bottom here of all our thumbnails, it's just for people. And that's all we're talking to. If other people end up watching tonight or down the road, then that's great. But for now, it's just a conversation between us. So it's nothing. I'm not going to make you read your poetry. Will I remind you about it every 5 minutes for the next hour? Yes, but that doesn't mean you have to succumb to the pressure. And instead, how about we start with this? So, Avery, you are a publicist. I am an author. What will you do for me? Because you're someone I would hire, and that's outside of my publishing company or whoever I'm going through to get myself set up as an author. What do you do for me?
Well, to begin with, we don't guarantee any results, but we will do whatever we can to get you as many opportunities as we can, including sending out your press release to all our contacts, setting up things like this, interviews with other people, maybe
we write poetry together.
If you want, maybe. See, now I lost my train of thought. Now I have to back up. I'm sorry.
Opportunities. You were telling me about different kinds of opportunities.
Yes, that's what we do for you.
well, you're sending out press releases. You're notifying your contacts.
Yes.
And as for someone in the States, and you were just talking about working with people in the States and in the media outlets here. What can I expect from a publicist? Like, what kind of things are you gonna have me walking into to do? Are we talking like conventions or radio interviews or blog tour kind of things, or what would you set up for me?
Whatever you wanted. We would pretty much try and get you anything that you wanted.
I want to be on stage with Ryan Reynolds and Chris Pratt.
Okay.
Can you make that happen?
Maybe not that. But hey, maybe we know a guy. I'm sure we can find someone. We can put feelers out, see what we can do for you.
I like it. I love those guys. Ah, good guys. We could have like a little love sandwich. He's a piece of bread. No, maybe not. What? What's going on? All right. So I want to introduce a new segment for the show. And it was something I was thinking of at the last convention I was at. And I was like, I really wished I had asked my authors this, when I talked to them. And so I want to call the segment, Teach Me Something. So I would like, and we'll start with Mickey, because I've had you in the hot seat for a couple minutes here, Avery. Mickey,
okay, yeah.
I want you
I'll try. No promises.
I want you to teach me something that I might not know about the writing or publishing industry, or something as an author I might not know going into this. How do I promote my book world?
Well, there's all kinds of things that authors make mistakes on when they're trying to promote their books.
Well, just tell me one of them. Just teach it to me so that I don't make that mistake.
Never think you're going to be on the Ellen show, because it probably won't happen.
What?
Or on stage with Ryan
or have false inhibitions about what your book is going to be and how built up it's going to be. And this is maybe a negative, but it's truth. Publicity doesn't always equal sales. And when we're having interviews with authors, their process, one of the questions they're saying is, how many sales am I going to get from this LA Talk radio interview? Or how many sales am I going to get from being on the New York Times? Even being on the New York Times bestseller list may not equate to actual sales. And that's something that authors have a hard time grasping with. I mean, what we're doing is we're building up a signal. We're building up your brand. We're building up your image. That doesn't always necessarily mean you're going to sell more books the first or third or fourth or fifth or sixth time. But over a long-term process, the sales will come. It just might take longer than what you're expecting.
Okay. So
did I pass the test?
Well, so we don't want to have unrealistic expectations, and
right.
Maybe a little bit more patience than most of us have as authors would be a good thing. What would you say to, say I'm first time author, I'm releasing my book, I've hired you, Mickey, I want you to represent me. What kind of, when you're having this talk to me, with me, because I'm assuming when you guys get new clients, you have this talk with them about, okay, we don't want to have unrealistic expectations. What kind of, what are you setting me up for? What kind of expectations do you want me to have?
It's all set up in the initial interview. Before we even sign a client, we have a consultation with them. And actually, Avery's been instrumental in doing this now. We have Zoom calls with them, and we interview the authors to ensure that our goals are going to align with their goals. Because if they don't, there's no point in starting that relationship. That relationship is going to end badly.
Okay.
Honestly, if the author we're interviewing first time says, my goal is to be on the Ellen Show, and if we look at the book and it's not where we think it's going to be, we're going to be upfront. We're going to tell them, we can't help you. What you want to happen, we can't do for you. It's better to be transparent and honest about something instead of make a false promise and try to build up, and then have that what that author wants not happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I think that you're helping to stave off some bad feelings there and a lot of disappointment, especially if someone says, oh, I'm doing this, and yeah, I want to be on the Ellen Show. Oh, well, maybe that's not happening right now. Maybe I'm not at that point in my career yet. But
now,
Avery,
can I stop for 1 second?
Go ahead.
Of course, Katie.
Because beyond just getting radio interviews or newspaper articles, things like that, you guys also help in setting up book signings, correct?
Yeah.
And that's something I think that especially the newer authors who are maybe timid or unaware of how to set them up themselves, that becomes a very big thing, because a lot of times, whether it be a bookstore, whether it be a convention, any area that an author could show their books at in person, they don't always want to talk to the author. They sometimes need that intermediary to line everything up for them to get that done. And that's something that a publicist also does. And that's a very valuable tool that the publicist has.
Yep. And to that point, Katie, I'm going to reel Avery in a second on this. But not only, you're right, we coach authors on how to sell their books at book signings. We coach them on what the right target market for books is and on all those things. But since Avery joined as well, and I'm going to get her to speak about this if I can, we're also teaching them how to have proper distribution of their product and not focus on that. So Avery, I'm reeling you in now because this is your area. And part of the reason why I wanted to work with her, because I knew she had this.
Well, certainly I am a firm believer in not putting all your eggs in one basket. So I find that one of the biggest things is a lot of authors just have Kindle Unlimited. They've kind of forgotten that there are other sales platforms that they should be utilizing. So one of the big ones is Kobo, which has a really good platform for authors, and they can take advantage of all kinds of sale opportunities. They will email you, I think, a couple times a month with like sales or other kinds of promotions that you can attempt to sign up for. There is a kind of a vetting process, but you can sign up and hopefully you can be a part of that. And, there's iBooks, there's other places. And so I think one of the big things is it doesn't hurt to have your book for sale at as many places. I don't actually buy Kindle books. I have a Kobo, right? So I'm really disappointed if I come across a book that I'm interested in and I can't actually buy the ebook. Or I have to use my phone, right? The app, the Kindle app. So that's one of the big things that I am kind of helping our clients is really utilizing all the opportunities that are available. And one of them is getting their book on more sales platforms.
And to add to that too, also the print versions as well. We had the big shift about a month ago where CreateSpace kind of fell off and it became KDP only. A lot of authors were freaking out and they felt like they had no choice. And many of them didn't understand that there's also Ingram Spark out there, which is another way to expand distribution and to not be tied down to just Amazon.
I think
and also, I want to say, I don't know how long ago it was. I should have my notes better on this, but I believe it was Walmart who just signed a deal with Kobo. So Walmart is now doing ebooks through Kobo as well. So that's going to boost up Kobo as another major platform.
It is Kobo. Yep. And now Kobo, you know, my books are available on Kobo. I've never used Kobo. I've never even seen Kobo.
Oh my God.
But so what is a Kobo? Do they have their own little independent e-readers or something?
They do. And
okay. Because I know I sell stuff on there, but I don't know what it is.
I don't.
That's another one of those cultural divide things. In America, I think iBooks and Amazon top the charts. But when you're looking at expanding into other countries, Kobo actually tops the charts, I think, in Canada as well as in Europe. They're a bit higher than Kindle is.
I'm picturing like a Kindle, but on the back, instead of
Wait,
the
1 second.
Amazon logo, it's got like a big teddy bear or something, because the teddy bear's name's Kobo. That'd be a good name.
And the other thing to that is, if you're publishing through Amazon, bookstores will stay away from you. They won't bring you in for signings. They won't stock your book. I mean, Amazon's huge, and there's a lot of sales from that aspect, but authors within that brand can't benefit from the book signing experience because stores will never bring them in.
And that's another benefit to doing Ingram Spark for your print, as opposed to going directly through Amazon and using KDP, because you're now in control of the distribution, the returnability, all of the wholesale pricing, and you're not considered in direct competition. I know here in the States, it's Barnes & Noble's the big one, and they look at Kindle at Amazon as competition and don't necessarily want to go after books that are published through that channel.
And even large, sorry, I was just going to say, even large scale. Oh, I'll let you finish, Avery. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, no, he was wondering what it looked like. So here is my Kobo, and it's a nice little case. But it's it's pretty much exactly like a Kindle, right?
It's an e-reader. Okay.
It's an e-reader, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know all the specs on this.
No, I don't need to know them. I was just that's cool.
What it is, right?
Awesome. Awesome.
And the Kobo is very mainstream for Canada. Extremely mainstream.
It is, yes. Yeah.
Okay. And I was at I covered a series of author events at our local library here, and one of our local bookstores, a small bookstore, was there, and she was selling books by the authors. And so I approached her and said, hey, I've got a couple books coming out. I'd love to get my books in your store. Would that be possible? And first thing she asked was, are you an indie? No, because I'm published with a small press. So that was gate number one right there. She didn't want indies. And then number two is, are they available through Ingram? And I said, yes. And she said, really? And I said, yes. And that's because they can order them. They can order them and they can return them. And that's a big deal. Whereas if they're just available on CreateSpace, or if they're in a box in your basement, you might not get the same response. There's a little bit more legitimacy also to I think to using Ingram Spark. And I don't do that. My publisher does, thank God, because I don't want to have to deal with that. But and I know, Katie, I know that you have used Ingram as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm about 50-50 when it comes to my print right now. I've been slowly moving things over to Ingram. Originally, it was Lightning Source, which was the small press publishers version before they rolled out the indie version of Ingram Spark. And it makes it a lot easier to reach out to the bookstores. Like I said, in the States here, it's Barnes & Noble's the big one. I believe it's Chapters in Canada is the big one.
Yeah, Indigo. Yeah, Chapters Indigo.
So I'm sure that they're the same way.
And
where
it's
they
all
want,
Ingram Sparks.
you know, is
Yeah,
it
that's right.
returnable? Is it at market rate? You know, can they order it?
One, I'm at a point now where if someone were to ask me advice on approaching bookstores or conventions or anything else as an indie author, and I would just tell them to say you're not an indie author. You know, you're published by, make up your publishing company name, you know, whatever you want your publishing company to be, you know, go ahead and develop that name, put an imprint on the back of your book with it, because, you know, unfortunately, being published by someone other than yourself still carries more weight, I think, with most people, unless you're going to a convention that caters to indie authors or bookstores that celebrate indie authors. Because really, there's nothing wrong with indie authors. There are a hell of a lot of great indie authors out there. But to the mainstream populace, you know, they're not always perceived as good, you know, which is a shame. But Avery.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead and say what you're going to say, man.
I was just going to say, but to the point you're making there, the indie authors that we have represented in the past and do represent now, they've been able to get into the bookstores because they have a publicist, and we're able to make up fancy press releases. We're able to make calls on their behalf. We're able to be advocates for them and give examples of where they've been covered in media. And once that happens, those authors get opportunities in bookstores.
That's excellent. And that's something we really need. You know, us little guys need those kinds of opportunities to get more exposure and to get our faces and our books in front of more people, for sure. All right. Well, Avery, continuing with our Teach Me Something segment, I asked Mickey about publicisting stuff. So I want to ask you about authoring.
Okay.
So you write books, you write poetry, you do all sorts of cool stuff. You have a little bit of experience. Can you teach me something that I might not know about being an indie author or a small press published author? Something that'll help me going forward in my career.
Well, the big thing is, so if you're going to go small press or anything like that, don't ever pay for anything, right? I mean, there's, people don't quite understand how things work. And even if you're signing a contract with a small press publisher, they are still publishing your book. It shouldn't actually cost you money. So if they're asking you to, you know, put up some money for editing or put up some money for a cover art, run away. That's bad. So you should never actually have to pay for anything. Now, of course, if you're self-publishing, then you're taking on all that financial responsibility. And then you want to make sure that you're putting your money in a really good editor and a really good cover artist, because those are what are going to sell your book, right? The first thing that people see online or in a bookstore or whatever is your cover. And, you know, you want to be able to open the page and not find a whole bunch of typos. And formatting is a big one, right? Make sure that you're spending a little bit of money on proper formatting. So that is my definite thing, right? Editing and cover.
That's really good advice. That's very good advice. Now, are you self-publishing or are you published or who?
So, my first two books were young adult paranormal books, and I had a small press, and they have since shut their doors, unfortunately. So I have the rights back. I just haven't actually done anything with them. And I do have a short story collection about writers who try and find their muse through kind of steamy erotica kind of ways.
Yeah.
And so I published that with the help of a friend of mine. So it's self-published, but I've got Stark Publishing as the Stark Naked Publishing actually is.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, keyboard, you're making me so hot. Oh, spacebar. Yes.
Yeah. So, but it is self-published, and I just had a friend help me, and so we used, like I said, a name that's not just, Avery Olive Publishing, right? So it gives it a little bit more credibility. So.
Let me ask you this, since we're talking about writing, and obviously this is November, which is the National Novel Writing Month. Are you seeing a lot of authors that are writing maybe their first books coming through and saying, I'm going to be done at the end of this month and I want to get it published, and I need a publicist for this?
No, but we've definitely had conversations with people who are not quite ready to have a publicist.
Yeah, we've had 3 this past week.
Yeah, yes, definitely. So one of that is something that is very common, and it's, yes, they're writing a book and they're jumping too far ahead about going, what's next. And, a publicist isn't quite there yet if you're still in the writing phase. So it happens for sure. People not ready, still writing.
That's a great response, because there are people out there that are maybe thinking 10 steps ahead of the game. They're writing their book. They know they're going to finish it someday, and they're going to want a publicist in their corner. They want the right, jump off when they publish their book. So when somebody approaches you, what are the criteria that you look for in whether or not you're going to approve a client?
Is the book actually finished? Vicky, go ahead.
Yeah. That's definitely part of it, is the book finished, obviously. But the other part of that is, and I learned this because we started in 2016, right? We learned this as we went along, but image is everything. Whether they're published with a small press or not, if the book is not edited properly, even with a small press, and the cover is, well, not appealing or not visually good, and then having that interview with that author, if their vision is not where we think they're going to be successful, and they're not willing to change that, we don't want to work with those individuals. And in the beginning, when I started this, I signed everybody because I was trying to build my business up. But it's now built, and we have a lot of quality people on our list now. We have 3 New York Times bestsellers. We have multiple award-winning authors. So all of that, whoever we bring on, maybe doesn't have to meet up that standard, but at least be able to show that their image is going to be quality aspect. Does that make sense? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, but you guys brought up a good point there with the timing. When is, in your opinion, the right time to be seeking out a publicist?
I would say sorry, go ahead, Avery. Did I cut you off?
No.
I would say when they think that they're ready to be fully fledged and devoted to any marketing opportunities that they've got and understand what the process is going to be. We've signed lots of clients that felt they were ready for a publicist, and then we booked them 15, 20 interviews in 3 months, and they're like, I just can't do this. I can't go this intense and not get the rewards of book sales to equate with that. Well, you have to understand how that works. Again, marketing in the beginning may not equate to book sales. And if you're not in it for the long haul over a 5, 7, 10-year term, you're not ready to be a full-fledged author. That's my opinion. Not everybody's going to be Andy Weir. They're just not.
Yeah. Well, all right. So another publicist question for you. And this is something that I would really like to know personally. And I think that Katie might like to know as well. So in all my Comic-Con interviews, I always ask them, hey, so who set you up to be a guest here at the Comic-Con to do your signing? And it's always either my agent or my publicist. Now, you guys as a team, can you set me up to be a guest at comic conventions and things like that?
I can't guarantee that, but we have the contacts to do it.
Okay.
And with Avery on, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to work with her, she's highly organized and she has a keen eye for detail and she's extremely precise. And I can safely say that the press releases we're writing now and sending out are way more intricate and way more visually appealing than they ever were when I was doing it by myself. And so we are getting better opportunities over that. We've established different media opportunities. And again, with the whole Comic-Con thing, if you're getting media opportunities and they're solid media opportunities and it's over a longer term, you're going to have a better chance of being a guest of honor at something.
Mm-hmm.
Guaranteed. That's just reality. When we signed Robert J. Sawyer and when we signed Tosca Lee, both really high accredited people, that built instant credibility for Creative Edge. And that credibility helped our other authors get their foot in the door with a lot of different opportunities. And the reputation is getting known now around that. When we reach out to a place like the Science Fiction Fantasy Network, or we reach out to Readers Entertainment Magazine, when we send them something, they know it's solid because of the credibility of our clients. And that's where Creative Edge always wanted to be. And with Avery aboard now, it's even getting more solid because she's able to provide a criteria that I never could.
Well, I just want to say that Avery sounds pretty badass. I mean, she sounds pretty awesome.
I know.
Why do you think I signed her? Anyways, I hope that answers the question, Jason. Yeah.
Yes. Well, you know what? I kind of forgot what the question was. Oh, yeah. Conventions. Yes, it does. And that's good. And it's funny, since a couple of our guests, Tim and Josh, basically told me just to get some cojones and start writing people and requesting things. I would have never gone out and approached conventions or signings or anything like that and said, hey, I'm so-and-so from Spilling Ink and I want to come in and do this. I never would have just had the guts to do it. And now I do it and I'm like, yeah, I don't care. It's all good. And it's worked out pretty well so far. So it's like, I think that if you're articulate and you word things correctly and you're confident, I think that can go a long ways. And having a good credible name behind you is paramount for sure. Yeah.
We've actually been approached. Sorry, go ahead.
No, something about approach.
I just said we've actually been Creative Edge has been actually approached by several conventions, Nebraska Book Fair, World Fantasy, things like that, for opportunities, Creative Inc. as well, sponsorships, for opportunities to bring authors in as guests of honors and stuff. And it's because the word's gotten out that the people we're sending are high quality people. If we sent somebody that was a disaster at any one of those festivals, we wouldn't be getting those opportunities. It just wouldn't happen.
Oh, yeah. So, Avery, about this poem, have you found something yet?
What poem? I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't want me to read my poetry because my poetry sucks.
Oh, okay, maybe that's a good trade-off. You read something, and I'll think about reading something.
I don't even actually have any of my poetry anymore. That was a late teenager years phase, and we can all just be thankful that it's gone.
Let me touch on a point that Mickey just made, though, because I think that's a very important thing he talked about, bringing quality people to conventions. As a guest at a convention, especially if your publicist has set you up for something, you are generally obligated to perform. And whether that's being at their signing tables or whether that's being on panels and speaking, you have to be ready to do that. And that's a very important side that the author has to take care of in the relationship they have with the publicist. Your publicist signs you up for something, you better damn well show up and you better damn well perform. Otherwise, one, you're not going to get invited back again. And two, you're going to make a publicist look bad as well.
Yeah. Like if you're a world famous author and you schedule interviews with people at the convention and then you don't show up, proving that you're 100% a dick, that's going to look bad for you and for your publicist.
I won't say I told you so, but I told you so.
You did tell me so. So
I'll need to hear about this story offline, Jason.
Yeah, we're not going to say names because that would be bad. But I had an experience with the very same individual that he had an experience with, and they both ran the same.
Well, and
as long as they're not represented with Creative Edge, that's all I care about.
No, he's not. Well, and and Katie, I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt because what you had told me is that if you're not some cute girl fawning all over him, good luck. Well, I'll tell you what, as a guy, it's really distracting to have cute girls fawning all over you. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe, but no, not cool. Not cool, man.
Yeah, if any of our authors do that, we need to know right away because we'll expedite that situation. Guaranteed. Well, go ahead, yeah.
Well, I was going to say, and I feel bad for his publicist, his assistant in this situation, because I had communicated with this person over the course of a couple of weeks, and they were great to deal with. And I didn't send them a nasty email or anything like that, and I won't, because you know what? They didn't have anything to do with it. They were professionals. They did their jobs, and I have a lot of respect for people because they're working their butts off, and you can't really dictate what the hell a celebrity is going to do when they decide not to follow the script. So.
It happens, though. It does. It happens. It happens more than people think. Can I put Avery on the spot a little bit with this?
Yes, please.
And it won't be about the poem. But she's been with us for a couple of weeks. And I would like to have her give her highlights and sense of what she's seen within Creative Edge since she started, because she's new and she's a fresh outlook.
Well, so this is giving her license to say whatever she wants about you.
She sure can.
Ooh.
I'm a big boy. I can take it.
Nice. This is like when Spock told, what's the doctor's name? McCoy. When Spock told McCoy that he welcomes honesty, and you're like, whoa, don't do that shit.
That's what we're all about, man. So absolutely. So I'd like her to do that.
If it helps, I'll mute Mickey.
No, Mickey's awesome. Actually, he's been amazing because, as I said, it's been like 2 weeks, and certainly I have a fair amount of experience. I've learned a lot in my time, but he has been wonderful at helping me learn even more. He kind of CCs me on all the emails and stuff like that for the first little while. I just sat back and read everything and then realized that he was a little bit disorganized. And so then I started making documents and stuff like that and putting people in the right place. And so some of our opportunities, we've booked a few months out in advance. So it's all nicely organized. So that was one of my things, is helping him with that, reminding him that, he has a calendar, and if he looks at it, things like phone calls and stuff are in it. And so I've actually, I think, improved his life by giving him these little things and helping him. And we just started using kind of Google Docs as a quick thing that, we can both edit, in real time. And so we can both see it no matter what computer or where you are. And so that was something I think too. He was like, oh, this is amazing. And so I've also had a really great time the last couple of weeks is just connecting with all the clients. So some of them I know, a bit, or have, seen at conferences and stuff like that, but actually getting them on the phone and getting excited with them about the opportunities that we are going to try and get them, right? That has been amazing. I actually, even though I'm a little bit, nervous about talking in public speaking and even just talking on the phone and stuff like that, I really do actually enjoy all the phone conversations I've had with all of our clients and figuring out what we've done for them in the past and what we're going to do for them in the future. I don't know. I think that kind of answers.
Yeah. How did you initially connect with Mickey?
So I met him a couple of years ago in Calgary, Alberta. There is a amazing kind of festival for readers and writers, it's called. And it's When Words Collide. And it is just amazing. They have guests of honors. They bring in some really great people. There's panels. There's kind of a great after party evening stuff. And so we connected there. And he represents a few really good friends of mine. And so that kind of helped. And we've just kind of seen each other in passing and stuff like that. So, but yeah, we met at When Words Collide a few years ago.
A lot of those conventions, those are definitely ways for people to do not only book sales and appearances, but networking.
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly it. They are, yeah, amazing for networking. And I've met some pretty awesome people just having that opportunity to be in the same room as them, right? And so, yeah, that's definitely it. If you're going to go to conferences and stuff like that and festivals, and that's one of the big things is taking that time and approaching people, maybe not while they're busy, but, you know, and kind of starting a conversation, and you never know what would happen or what could come of it later.
Well, you know what's funny is at the Grand Rapids Comic Convention, which was just last weekend. Was that last weekend, Katie? Yeah, probably last weekend. So I went to that as press for Spilling Ink, just to do, you know, a few author interviews and to have a good time. And my 16-year-old daughter was my camera operator on Friday. My wife was busy with other work, and so she came along, and we're just wandering around through the vendor halls and checking everything out. And she grabs my arm. She was like, "That's the Odd Ones Out." I'm like, what words are you saying? Are these real words? And she's pointing at this guy who I've never seen before. I didn't recognize him, of course. And she said, "That is the Odd Ones Out." And I still have no idea who it is. Apparently, he is a YouTube video sensation. I mean, he's huge, 9 million subscribers. He's very, very popular on YouTube. And she just happened to recognize him out of the crowd. She was like, "He must be here selling stuff. He must be here." And I was like, "Cool, I'm going to go talk to him right now." And she's like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, what the hell are you talking? Why would you tell me if you didn't want me to do this? You know I'm going to do this. So I eventually tracked him down and we set up an interview. But, you know, it's just funny, the things that you can accomplish just by asking sometimes, because I didn't know who this person was. I hadn't any communication with his publicist or agent, but thankfully his agent was there at his little booth with him, and I went over and I talked to him, and it all worked out just great. And sometimes just having a little bit of guts and having a little bit of confidence, or even if it's only for 10 seconds, you know, sometimes 10 seconds is all it takes to make something great happen.
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
You know,
I mean, my moments are
and so that's a really cool thing. And you know, and I'm not the kind of person that gets particularly starstruck often, but I really enjoy talking to popular people in their fields, because it's like, you know, these people are really in tune with kind of the pulse of their fandoms, and I think it's really special to kind of try to get in their head a little bit, or at least see what they're doing that's working for them. So yeah.
Well, and that's another reason why. Sorry, Katie, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're fine.
I was just gonna say that's another reason why I wanted to.
I'm sure you said something fabulous about me.
You're frozen. Mickey, switch your Wi-Fi.
Aww.
Avery, tell us what he was going to say.
Well, he was going to say that I'm amazing.
Why don't you read us some poetry?
Let's not say I did.
Now, Jason, that video that you took, I have to say it's funny. My daughter gets updates anytime Spilling Ink posts a new video, because she's subscribed to our channel, which if you're watching, make sure that you hit that button and subscribe. So she gets the notification on her phone, and we're in the middle of like family night watching a movie together, and she goes, "Oh my God, Jason talked to the Odd Ones." And I was like, what now? We had to pause movie night to go look at the video because she wanted to see what you did. How did you talk to him?
Well, and now, and you know, I really wish that I knew more about him now because I could have asked better questions, and but yeah, that was fun. He was very, very in with the kids. You should have seen Katie, dude. There was probably 400 kids pressed in on his booth watching us talk. It was a little unnerving. You think it's bad talking in front of us, Avery? Imagine 400 little monsters. Ugh, kids, gross. Puppies are good though. I mean, if it was puppies, I would have been cool. Yeah.
Did you happen to get like a nice little panorama of what was going on there so we could see that?
I did not, and I really should have. I regret that. I had actually had a 2-camera setup going, and one of his guys, because they were selling all sorts of merchandise there as well, one of his guys ended up bumping another camera and knocking it over. And so my whole second angle was just gone, which is why it's just the one camera. I was like, that's all right. The camera's all right. So I'm happy about that.
And then it's one of our most popular recent uploads too. So congratulations on that one.
Yeah, thanks. My daughter said my interview was cringy, but she thinks everything I do is cringy, which apparently means it makes her cringe to watch it.
You illustrated a very good point. And one of the reasons I think that publicists are so important is that a lot of times the author is afraid or maybe not able to ask for what they need. And that's the publicist's job, is to go out and ask for it. And that makes you guys well worth it. Even if interviews and such doesn't pan out, getting those tables at conventions, being able to be at conventions where you can do further networking or talk or, whatever it needs to be, even if it's a bookstore signing. Mm-hmm. Authors aren't always available or not available. They're not emotionally accessible to ask for that. They're in their own little heads, which is where most authors reside.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of our job, I guess, is to be their advocate, right? And do all those things that, maybe they're unsure how to do, or they're not comfortable doing, or I mean, just having the backing of, publicist makes, it a little bit more legitimate, right? I mean, have a lot of contacts, we have a lot of great clients, and as Mickey said, because of those, we are able to reach out and try and get those kinds of opportunities and stuff.
And it does make a difference. I know I've had experiences where I've, drummed up the courage and said, okay, I'm gonna, request this or that and try and get onto, panels or what have you. And it's been a polite rejection, whereas I've had somebody else as an intermediary, and in that very same event, sure enough, they signed me up. And it's kind of, it's strange to see that happen where, you ask and it doesn't happen, but if somebody else does it, they're more than happy.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if you ever need an intermediary, Katie, I'm always there for you too. Well, and I'll tell you what, it's a great point, because everybody I've talked to about, how they get hooked up with this or that, they always say agent or publicist. And they always also say they work their asses off and it's totally worth it. Mm-hmm. And I believe it, because I can approach people as spilling ink without a problem, because this is a talk show and the job is speaking and interacting. And so I don't have any problem pitching that to people. But when it comes to my writing, I don't have nearly that same confidence. And I don't ever approach people about my writing. I don't ever try to pitch people about my writing, because I don't know where to begin. I don't know how to do it. I don't like talking about myself. I mean, I like talking about our show. So for me, a publicist would be a very valuable thing.
Well, good. We can talk after the show, if you want.
Yeah, for sure. After I hear one of those poems.
No, remember, I already did. I guess you weren't paying attention. Sorry about that.
Man, it's too bad your partner totally abandoned you here all alone. So let me ask you this. What genre do you like to read in? What's your favorite genre? Don't say all of them. Give me one.
Lately, I've actually surprisingly been really big into science fiction. I'm slowly working my way through a few friends' books and stuff like that, and they are science fiction.
Okay, awesome. Now, do you like science fiction that is more science or more fantasy?
Whoa. You can't mix science fiction and
Oh,
fans,
you
there's
sure
like
can.
that's a conversation for another day. More, I think sciencey for sure.
Okay. Okay. Now, see, and I absolutely like, I don't read a lot of science fiction, but when I was younger, I was really into Michael Crichton, who, of course, wrote Jurassic Park and the Andromeda Strain and just tons and tons of cool books. And his books were, I considered, more science thrillers. But some people call them science fiction, and I guess that's okay too. But I really like the hard science that he used in those. And then in books like The Martian by Andy Weir, which is science fiction, but it's got real good hard science in there, as well as a cool, funny story. Have either of you read The Martian?
I have not.
I've
It's
not
on
read
the
it.
list.
No.
Oh, you should both check out The Martian because it's not what you expect unless you've seen the movie. And if you've seen the movie, don't read the book because you've completely ruined it.
See, now I
but-
have seen the movie 100 times.
Yeah, don't read the book then. Don't read the book because it's completely ruined then.
That's
Because
usually
a
what I
big part of the book is Watney going to make it off Mars. So once you've got that, the big ending in there, you don't want to go through it again. But it's incredibly funny. The book is so freaking funny. Yeah. So if you haven't read The Martian, seriously read it. It is one of the coolest sci-fi books you'll ever read, and it's sci-fi that's accessible to everyone. It's just a really cool story. So definitely check that out.
See, I'm one of those weirdos though who I don't mind spoilers because to me it's I like knowing. I don't like things hanging in the air. And once I know, it's not ruining it for me because it's that still the adventure of how did they manage to pull this off.
Okay.
So I still appreciate things even after they've been spoiled. I've had a few people spoil the new Fantastic Beasts movie for me already. So I can't wait to go see it now because I want to see how they pull off the things that I've been told.
Oh, how could you be friends with spoilers? I mean, I seriously think that now, for those of you out there that are spoilers, and if you're a spoiler, I think that you're the worst kind of human that exists. I really do. And you should be ashamed of yourself. Move to an island somewhere and never speak to anyone again. Just do that. Do it. No, I'm done with you.
I go out and request the spoilers. I don't have patience to wait for things.
God, you're like my son, Christopher. He'll see a new movie's going to come out next year and search as many videos as he can to find enough fan theories that it's ruined for him. I'm like, why would you do that? You took something that could have been amazing and you beat it to death into nothing. Oh, Katie. Oh, Katie Solitis. What has Vegas done to you? First the stripping, then the prostitution, and now spoilers.
I know there could be worse things, right?
I don't know. Oh, did you like my new little clapboard? My brother-in-law made that for me for doing interviews, and you know what? This thing actually did kind of save my ass twice. Because the purpose of these, those of you who are in video production know, those of you who are not might not know. When you're recording pro audio and pro video, it's separate. So you have your audio coming from your microphone. Mine's just that little blue guy up there. And that goes into a recorder. And your video goes into the camera. So later in your computer, you have to go into your pro video software and say sync. And it looks for that loud noise to sync the two audio signatures so that they match up. Now, if you forget to turn the microphone on your camera on, like I did twice over that weekend, the only thing you have is this visual representation, and that's when that top board hits the bottom board. And so you use that to sync up your audio and create the video that works without weird lags in the dubbing like you see sometimes. So anyhow, that's your lesson on audio dubbing. If you want a lesson on that, I will record a lesson because, damn it, I'm a bit of a pro right now. I've messed up enough times that I know my shit.
All right.
Well, okay. Well, guys, we are at the end of our hour, and we only have half of Creative Edge right now. But from what I understand, it's the better half the super talented half.
That's right.
Would you like to add any parting thoughts before we sign off for the evening?
Yeah, I will read like a super tiny, tiny short, very, very short one, okay? And when she needed it, he picked her up and put her on his shoulders, hoping that with his support, she was that much closer to the stars and all her dreams were within reach. It's very tiny.
That's very nice.
I love that.
That's very, very nice. And ladies and gentlemen, that was Avery Olive of the Creative Edge publicity, something or other.
Edge publicity.
It starts with a P, begins with Creative Edge. And that is all the time that is all the time we have for tonight. We thank you for joining us on this episode. Please hit the like button if you like the show. If you didn't, don't hit anything, but definitely hit the subscribe button, because that way, when we post little videos throughout the week of cool interviews and whatnot, you get to see them right away in your email. And when the next show goes live, which will be next Saturday, you'll get to see that too.
Oh,
Thank
not
you,
next.
everybody. Oh, wait, yeah.
Not next Saturday.
Wait.
We're taking
What's
off
happening next Saturday? We are?
Yes.
Thanksgiving's on Thursday.
Right. And then there's Black Friday, and then there's Hungover Saturday.
Thanksgiving was in October. I don't know.
Okay. All right. So it won't be next Saturday. Maybe I'll post something. I will record something and post it for you next Saturday, guys, because I feel bad about Katie bailing out on the show for Thanksgiving Hungover Saturday.
However, on December 1st, I believe, we are going to be bringing a bunch of awesome podcasters, as well as the Go Indie Now host, Joe Compton. So that will be an episode you do not want to miss.
I love having JoJo on. He's like my dad that I never had.
We should have, I believe it's Joe Compton. Just Joshing will be with us again. And
is that the Aurora award-winning Just Joshing?
He's awesome.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so you do not want to miss our next show on December 1st, but Jason will make sure to post something next week for you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks for watching, guys.